Welcome to Biggest Spoilars, the destination for exclusive spoilers, latest updates.
The church lights glowed softly as the early winter dusk settled across Port Charles, casting a hazy warmth over the stained glass windows that lined the sanctuary. A gathering of family and friends filled the pews, their voices hushed but tinged with nervous anticipation. Today was supposed to be a moment of peace, a baptism that symbolized hope, unity, and fresh beginnings. Yet underneath the soft organ chords and the floral arrangements carefully placed along the altar rails, tension simmered. Too many secrets had been piling up. Too many lies had been whispered in dark corners of the town. And now, one of the most guarded and dangerous mysteries in Port Charles, the identity of the shadowy figure known only as C, was about to explode into the open in a way no one expected, least of all Mayor Laura Collins. Laura had spent the last week glued to the edges of half-truths, whispers, and unsettling coincidences. Everywhere she turned, she felt the presence of someone manipulating events behind the scenes. She had seen too much in her lifetime not to recognize the early warning signs of another looming crisis. But even she had underestimated the sheer magnitude of what C was capable of, or how personally this revelation was going to strike her. As the baptism ceremony prepared to begin, Laura couldn't shake the tightening coil in her chest. She stood near the front pew, trying to focus on the baby who was about to be welcomed into the family, but her eyes kept drifting toward the doors at the back of the sanctuary. Dylan, Kevin, Dante, and Sam were scattered around the room, their expressions guarded. They all felt it too, the sense that today, something was going to snap. The baby's mother adjusted the child's christening gown, beaming with pride, while relatives whispered affectionate comments, but Laura remained quiet. Her fingers twitched slightly as she clutched a folded slip of paper in her purse. On it were the final clues she had pieced together about the enigmatic C, the mysterious figure who had been interfering with investigations, sending threatening messages, bribing informants, and orchestrating events from the shadows. Laura's instincts had been screaming at her for days to stop ignoring the puzzle pieces that had been accumulating at her feet. And now, as the pastor stepped forward to begin the ceremony, Laura felt a chill rush across her spine. Encouraging words as the baptism begins. The service opened with the pastor offering warm, heartfelt blessings, his voice echoing with reassurance. He spoke of faith, unity, redemption, words meant to calm the soul and strengthen the bonds between those gathered. The congregation leaned in, letting the message wash over them. Even hardened hearts seemed to soften. Curtis placed a comforting hand on Marshall's shoulder. Trina gave her mother a gentle smile. Michael whispered something encouraging to Willow, who nodded gratefully. Jocelyn, sitting near Dex, tried to swallow the anxiety building in her throat, while Carly exchanged a fleeting but supportive look with Drew. Everything felt poised on the edge of healing. But Laura couldn't focus on the pastor's message. Her mind raced. The encouraging words were meant to soothe, but all she heard were reminders of everything that could be ripped apart if she didn't expose C soon enough. How could she sit quietly when every instinct in her screamed that someone inside this very building could be connected to the darkest manipulations happening across Port Charles? Still, she forced herself to remain composed. She breathed slowly. She needed to wait for the right moment. She needed to make sure she had absolute proof before she confronted anyone, especially because the truth she now held was so devastating that even she struggled to believe it. The baby was lifted gently toward the font, sparkling water prepared in a silver bowl. Family members beamed with pride. Loved ones dabbed at their eyes with tissues. The pastor's encouraging words filled the room again as he blessed the child and prayed for guidance, protection, and the strength to face life's challenges. But just as the pastor dipped his fingers into the holy water, the heavy church doors creaked open. Heads turned. And in walked a figure Laura had hoped never to see connected to this moment. An interruption that shifts the air. The atmosphere instantly changed. The organist faltered. The baby whimpered nervously. Tension rippled through the congregation as the newcomer stepped inside with slow, deliberate strides. Laura's heart thudded painfully against her ribs. She recognized that face. She recognized that walk. And she recognized the icy stare directed straight at her. The pastor paused, glancing nervously between Laura and the uninvited guest, but Laura raised her hand to signal him to continue. She didn't want panic to break out. Not yet. Not before she confronted the truth head-on. Kevin leaned toward her, whispering urgently, "Are you sure about this?" Laura nodded stiffly. "I know who they are," she murmured, her voice trembling despite the steel she attempted to project. "And I'm done pretending I don't." The baptism resumed, but the soft blessing that filled the sanctuary now felt overshadowed by a hovering storm. Every encouraging word became a sharp reminder that peace could shatter in an instant. Meanwhile, the uninvited visitor slipped quietly into the back pew, their eyes never leaving Laura. The angry threats began. Immediately after the pastor pronounced the child's baptism, the church erupted into applause, but the light-hearted relief lasted barely a second. A confrontation sparked near the entrance where Dante, Sam, and Chase noticed something suspicious, a burner phone left on the pew next to the newcomer. It began vibrating with a harsh, buzzing sound. Dante grabbed it, glanced at the silent visitor, then answered. A distorted voice snarled on the other end. "Put Laura on. Now. Or everyone in that church will learn exactly how far C is willing to go." Dante froze. Sam gasped, instantly connecting the dots. Laura stepped toward them, her breath tightening with dread. She could hear every syllable. And she knew, this was the moment she had been waiting for, and fearing more than anything. "Give me the phone," she demanded. Dante hesitated. "Laura, whoever this is." "I know who it is," she whispered. "I'm the one they want." When she pressed the phone to her ear, a cold, mocking laugh greeted her. "Hello, Laura. Still pretending you can outsmart me?" The congregation grew silent as Laura's expression hardened. She stepped aside, distancing herself from the family still celebrating, and whispered sharply. "What do you want? If you think threatening innocent people—" "Oh, Laura," the voice drawled. "Don't pretend innocence is still a currency worth trading in this town. You and I both know you've kept your own secrets." Laura narrowed her eyes. "I'm not afraid of you." "You should be," the caller hissed. "Because now that you've gotten too close to the truth, I'm left with only one option." "What option?" she demanded. The voice dropped to a chilling whisper. "Eliminate you, before you expose who C really is." Laura's spine stiffened. Kevin rushed toward her. "Laura, what did they say?" But before she could answer, the stranger in the back pew stood abruptly. Their chair scraped loudly, echoing like a gunshot in the tense silence. The stranger reached into their coat. Dante and Chase reacted instantly, rushing toward them. Families scrambled. Mothers shielded their children. The pastor dropped his prayer book, trembling. But instead of producing a weapon, the stranger held up both hands, and slowly removed their hood. Laura gasped. Her knees nearly buckled. The room swirled. The truth hit her like a violent blow. She knew C. She knew them better than almost anyone alive. And the revelation was so horrifying she struggled for air. Laura discovers C's identity, and her world shatters. The hood fell back. The congregation erupted in shock. Laura staggered forward, whispering in disbelief. "No, no. It can't be you. Not after everything, not after all the years we fought to get you back." The rest of the room froze, hanging on her every word. Kevin stepped up beside her, his face pale. "Laura, who is it?" The stranger spoke first, their tone laced with a poisonous blend of triumph and fury. "Go on, Laura. Tell them who I am. Tell them who you failed to save." Laura's voice cracked as tears blurred her vision. "It's my own family." Gasps rippled through the church. Whispers spread like wildfire. Dante exchanged stunned looks with Sam. Curtis shook his head slowly, disbelief etched into his features. The stranger smirked wickedly, stepping fully into the light. And then, with a cruel bow, they declared, "I am C, and Laura Collins helped create me." Laura's entire world collapsed. The explosion of emotion. The church erupted into panic as angry threats flew from every corner of the sanctuary. Michael shouted, "Get them out of here before someone gets hurt." Carly growled, "You come into a church, into a baptism, and threaten a baby? You're sick." Anna drew her weapon, shouting for everyone to get back. But C only smiled, savoring the chaos. "You all think you know Laura?" they sneered. "Think again." Laura clutched the edge of a pew, her breath shaking violently. "Why are you doing this? Why target innocent people? Why drag the entire town into your vendetta?" "Because," C replied, "you took my life from me. And now I'm taking yours apart piece by piece." Kevin wrapped an arm around Laura as she trembled. "You don't have to listen to this," he murmured, but Laura shook her head. "I do," she whispered. "I need to understand." But C wasn't interested in explaining. Their mocking grin widened. "You already understand, Laura," they hissed. "You abandoned me. You turned your back on me. You pretended I didn't exist." Tears spilled down Laura's cheeks. "I tried to help you." "No," they snapped viciously. "You helped everyone else. But not me. And now you'll feel exactly what I felt." The congregation watched in horror as the emotional confrontation unfolded. Angry threats escalate, a dangerous standoff. The tension surged to its breaking point. "You take one step closer," Dante warned, "and you're facing charges that'll keep you locked away for life." C smirked. "You think I didn't plan for this? You think I walked in here without leverage?" Sam's eyes widened. "What leverage?" C slowly raised a small device. A phone. Connected to something far worse. "Let's just say," they purred, "that if anyone tries to arrest me before I finish what I came here to do, a very large boom will go off somewhere in Port Charles." Screams filled the church. "Where?" Chase demanded. "Where is the bomb?" But C refused to answer. Laura stepped forward, trembling but determined. "Stop this," she pleaded. "Please. Whatever pain you think I caused you, whatever hurt you're holding on to, hurting innocent people won't fix it. Let me help you. Let me try again." C's expression darkened. "No," they whispered. "You don't get to fix anything. Not anymore." And then they lunged toward the altar. Dante and Chase tackled them to the floor as the congregation erupted in chaos. The phone skidded across the church tiles, spinning wildly until it slid to a stop at Laura's feet. She froze. Time held its breath. And when she bent down to pick up the phone, the screen flashed a chilling message. Phase 1 complete. Laura's horrified gasp echoed through the sanctuary. The aftermath, and a new beginning of fear. C was restrained, handcuffed, shouting vicious threats as they were dragged from the building. "You think this is over?" they bellowed. "This is only the beginning. Port Charles will fall because of you, Laura." Laura collapsed into Kevin's arms, sobbing as the reality of the situation hit her with crushing force. This wasn't over. This was only the opening act. The baptism, the encouraging words, the peaceful ceremony, everything had been shattered by the revelation that someone tied to her past, someone connected to her family, had become the ruthless puppet master tormenting the town. And now that the identity of C had been exposed, one terrifying truth lingered. If Phase 1 was complete, then whatever Phase 2 held would be far worse. Laura wiped her tears, swallowing the ache in her throat. She stared at the message glowing on the screen, dread twisting deep inside her. But she was Laura Collins. She had fought too many battles to crumble now. Slowly, steadily, she whispered. "I'm coming for you. And I will end this, no matter what it costs me." And thus began the darkest chapter yet in the war against C, whose shadows stretched far deeper into Port Charles than anyone dared imagine. Esme Prince and Cyrus Renault returned to hang Laura Collins while fugitive Valentine Cassadine ambuscaded Carly Spencer. At Carly's house, she worked to play down Jack Brennan's enterprises and keep up her fake love facade. Carly also brought Lucas Jones some Thanksgiving pie at GH and tried to make amends, but he demanded time and space. Latterly, Carly heard a noise at home and seized a fireplace poker to cover herself. After the meddler popped up, Carly nearly hit him before realizing it was Valentine who had broken in. Valentine looked roughed up as he smiled and said he told Carly that he'd be in touch. At their apartment, Trina Robinson heard Jocelyn Jacks enter and turned on the light. Jocelyn wound up venting to Trina about Carly's love with Brennan and S. Vaughn tiptoeing her before she got a communication from her master. After Jocelyn claimed she was going to spend the night at Carly's place, she headed out. Kai Taylor surfaced from the bedroom and had a probative cuddle session with Trina on the lounge. Meanwhile, Jocelyn headed to Brennan's office, where he scolded her since he knew she was the bone who broke protocol and gave the alternate lab address to Emma Scorpio Drake. There was some talk about the WSB's plan to acquire the murderous technology Jen Sidwell wanted, so Jocelyn sounded concerned over their plans for it. Jocelyn also got a lecture over her continued love with Vaughn and learned he'd been packed far down. Brennan and Jocelyn rode over his relationship with Carly before he got a phone call that left him rattled, so that was no doubt about Valentine's escape. At Laura's place, she had an agony that involved Cyrus Renaud visiting her and handing over the murder armament as a gift. Cyrus advised Laura to turn herself in and played up how likewise they were. Esme also made an appearance in Laura's bad dream and blustered about how important Laura had taken from her. Laura grew terrified when Esme noted that Ace Cassadine was in his room, but Esme claimed she wasn't going to hurt him. This was about guarding Ace since Esme felt Laura wasn't fit to raise her child. Laura woke up startled and ultimately gave Kevin Collins news on Jen Sidwell's visit along with the blackmail drama. After Laura mentioned her agony and considered turning herself in, she eventually decided she could end since she'd dragged Sonny down with her. Laura bothered about what was coming for Sonny since she knew Sidwell's demands would be far worse for him. At Sonny's house, Sidwell showed up for a late-night visit and claimed this was a matter of urgency. Once Sidwell showed Sonny one of the indicting prints, he made it clear that he wanted the peers and inferred more demands would follow. However, Sidwell advised that the bobbies would be transferred the snaps along with the gun used to kill Dalton, which was covered in Laura's DNA, if any detriment chanced Sidwell or Marco Rios. Sidwell felt confident that Sonny wouldn't leave the country and bail on Laura since they were both pious to each other. Shortly after Sidwell exited, Laura called with updates for Sonny. After Sonny admitted he formerly knew since he just got a visit from Sidwell, Laura wondered what they were going to do. Sonny assured Laura that they were going to figure it out, so stay tuned to see how he might recapture control of the situation. General Hospital spoilers and updates indicate that 5 shocking events are on the horizon this December, signaling that significant stories are set to consolidate in Port Charles. Anticipate some surprising developments and thrilling romantic turns, giving observers plenitude to anticipate. Jack's unanticipated crisis. To begin with, Jack Brennan is facing an unanticipated extremity. This might be linked to Valentine Cassadine's escape from captivity, which seems poised to disrupt Brennan's plans. Also, there's always the imminent eruption of vengeance from Carly Spencer, a true mortal powder keg. Brennan remains unconscious to the fact that Carly is apprehensive of his covert reclamation of her son, Jocelyn Jacks, into the WSB. Once this information comes to light, brace yourself for a dramatic battle, especially since she has confederated with Valentine to bring it to consummation. Sonny gets a shock named Kevin. As for Sonny Corinthos, the rearmost spoilers from General Hospital indicate that he's in for quite a shock, courtesy of Kevin Collins. Kevin will admit updates from Laura Collins regarding the ongoing drama girding Professor Henry Hank Dalton and Sonny's part in it. Also, Kevin will feel compelled to have a discussion with Sonny about the entire situation. Sonny will find himself taken suddenly when he discovers that Kevin has now come a part of the inner circle of secrets. Yet it's doubtful that he'll hold Laura responsible for keeping her hubby informed. Britt and Cody show sparks. Molly may be hurt. Britt Westbourne and Cody Bell are set to witness a moment of reconnection that's sure to enkindle some unanticipated sparks between them. The influence of alcohol may play a significant part as the two find themselves caught up in a close hassle. Naturally, this situation poses a threat for Molly Lansing Davis, who might get hurt if she happens to witness their commerce. Unknown to each other, Molly and Cody have been developing passions for one another, yet neither is willing to confess their feelings. Molly's indeed used Cody as a model for her love novel with an Old West theme. Lucas and Marco solidify their commitment. Meanwhile, Lucas Jones and Marco Rios are on a path to solidifying their commitment to one another. Lucas has formally taken the step of moving in with Marco, but could an engagement be on the horizon? Anyhow, of what happens coming, trouble looms ahead due to Jen Sidwell and the secrets that Lucas may uncover. With Sidwell being Marco's father, and Marco intimately abetting him, Lucas is in constant peril and does indeed know it. Disturbing exposures are on the horizon at Windmere, which could potentially peril Lucas's life. Michael is rankled by Jacinda's betrayal next. Michael Corinthos is headed for disappointment with Jacinda Bracken. Despite their growing closeness and some passion, a secret could ruin everything. Jacinda prevaricated to Michael about being alone after their bar meeting on the night of Drew Kane's firing. Michael thinks no bone can challenge their story, but he's incorrect. Jacinda was actually with Ezra Boyle after leaving Michael, so Harrison Chase is set to prove it and use this to destroy Michael's alibi. When Michael learns of Jacinda's taradiddle, he'll be furious and any hope she had for a future together will be shattered. General Hospital spoilers indicate these shocking events are coming in December, along with numerous others, so stay tuned.